Howdy, fifth graders! We are getting near the end of the year, but we still have a few more stops to make on our world tour. This week we head north out of South America, where we visited last week, and we're going to head north out of that continent and visit a large group of island nations known collectively as the Caribbean, or is it the Caribbean, or however you pronounce it, potato potato. It's a cool group of islands north of South America. You've probably heard of the Caribbean because of movies like Pirates of the Caribbean or through books like Treasure Island. But it's so much more than pirates, though pirates were a big part of the history in that area. It's a very diverse region with many different cultures and music traditions. Have you noticed that's been a theme of every place we visit, right? We visit one, two, three places in a region. There are so many traditions anywhere in the world, and I want you to get that message above all else on our world tours that we can't represent an entire culture in one video. You need to go out there and dig more. If you like what you hear here, find more of it, right? So it's just a little taste of the rich available music in the world.
And here's two lifelong music nerds, or three lifelong music nerds. That's been our calling from a young age. And whenever we learn from each other, when we put these together, we always say, "Wow, I didn't know that." So there's always more to dig into.
Yep, I learned new stuff this week in all my research and work, so it's been really exciting. So dig in. It's great stuff. Some of the more well-known countries in the Caribbean are the Bahamas, Haiti, the Dominican Republic, Cuba, Aruba, Curacao, Jamaica, Cozumel, Trinidad and Tobago, Barbados, the Cayman Islands, and Puerto Rico. Whew! That's a lot of islands, and that's just really a small part of the many different countries in the Caribbean, like less than half. Okay. The first instrument we'll learn about today has its roots in Trinidad and Tobago, and it's called the steel pan.
The steel pan, also known as steel drum or pan, is a musical instrument originating from Trinidad and Tobago. Steel pan musicians are called panists. Modern pan is a chromatically pitched percussion instrument made from 55-gallon industrial drums.
Yeah.
Real big. A chromatic instrument can play all the half steps in a scale. The string, wind, brass, and mallet percussion instruments you've learned about are all chromatic instruments. Drum refers to the steel drum containers from which the pans are made, but the steel drum is more correctly called a steel pan or pan, since there is no skin or membrane stretched across its frame, like other drums. The ends of the drums are pounded into different sized ovals to produce different pitches. The note's size corresponds to the pitch. The larger the oval, the lower the tone.
The size of the instrument also varies from one pan to another. It may have almost all of the skirt, the cylindrical part of the oil drum, cut off, and around 30 soprano range notes. It may use the entire drum with only 3 bass notes per pan, in which case one person may play up to 6 of those pans. So you got 3 notes on one drum, and you got to play like an octopus. The length of the skirt generally corresponds to the range of the drum, being longer or lower, how high and low the drum can play notes. Before we listen to the steel pan, let's check out how one is made. You'll see how the pan starts as metal parts that are welded together and how it's transformed into a beautiful instrument.
The story of the steel drum begins in Trinidad in the 1930s, when street band skirmishes led to the ban of skin drums. So people improvised and made drums from thick bamboo poles, car parts, tins, and finally oil barrels. They came up with a whole new sound without skipping a beat. When people first started pounding on steel instruments, they inadvertently dented them. That's how they discovered that each dent produced a different pitch. So now steel drums are dented on purpose. To make a drum head, they cut a piece of steel into a circle. They weld a metal ring onto it, and then they position a metal shell or skirt on the ring and weld it in place. The drum is held in a big clamp, while a worker pinpoints the drum head's exact center. He places a measuring guide there, using it to mark radial lines from the center to the rim. Each line is 10 degrees apart. As the drum turns, he draws circular lines to make a grid. Now he pounds the head of the drum with a pneumatic hammer, using the grid as a guide to ensure the work is done evenly. It takes 8 hours of hammering to transform the drum into a bowl-like shape. This is called sinking the drum. Then, with a special guide for curved surfaces, a technician measures out another grid inside the bowled drum head. He outlines the notes that are about to be hammered out. In this case, a high B and an E. Then he hammers down the steel around each one to shape the note. Getting this right takes skill and a lot of time, up to 50 hours. He trims the drum skirt to the correct length and tapes a stencil of the company logo onto the skirt. This device is an electrical etching machine. It uses acid and electrical current to eat away the steel exposed through the stencil. Now, a technician wields an ultrasonic thickness probe. She presses it against a note. Using high-frequency sound waves, the probe measures the steel's thickness to within a fraction of a millimeter. She grinds down the notes where needed. Using a scribing tool, she scratches a line around each note so it'll be visible to the player. Now it's time to make sure they've struck the right note. To tune a steel drum, the technician plays a note with a stick and then dents it with a hammer to adjust the pitch. You have to have an ear for this job. He hammers the note until it sounds right. Sometimes he turns the drum upside down to knock out a note from the underside. For the fine tuning, he relies on an electronic tuner. A microphone delivers the sound to it, and the lines on the screen tell him if the note is in tune or not. Next, he burns the border of each note with a blowtorch. Then he cools it down with water. The process tempers the steel, making the notes more resonant. He tunes the drum again, checking for flaws. After the drum is chrome-plated, he tunes it a final time. It's taken 120 hours to make this steel drum. Now it's time to take a break and party to the steel band sound.
Now that you've seen how this cool instrument is made, let's see it in action. The next video features 6 musicians on the steel pan and 1 musician on the drum set. And the camera angle changes during the performance, and at one point you will get a good view of the surface of some of the pan drums, or the pans rather. You should see white outlines of the different pitched areas of the instrument, and those help the musician navigate to correct notes. Here's a great performance by the Caribbean Connection Steel Drum Band playing Yellowbird, which is a traditional song with roots in Haiti and Jamaica.
Thank you.